Good evening and welcome to Astro Mingle with your host, Sensei Christopher.
Hello and welcome to Astro Mingle, the spiritual podcast that mingles with the talented lightworkers and the innovative influencers of our time. Today we're joined by Alexandra Barton, who has an intriguing mix of gifts. She's an energy healer, an astrocartographer who helps people shift their energy field so they can heal, expand, and feel more in the flow of their lives. She's also a pranic healing and light frequency channel, and she helps to recalibrate people's chakras and help them discover their divine willpower, she puts it. As a result of her work, she loves seeing her clients often experience better health, more clarity, greater prosperity, and a stronger sense that they're consciously shaping their own reality. At the heart of her work is the idea that each of us is source, its fact, is source in human form, with the ability to heal from within and create our own versions of heaven on earth. I can't agree more. Please welcome Step 10 Capricorn, Alexandra Barton. Hey. It's nice to meet you officially on camera while we're recording.
Yeah, absolutely. Nice to be here.
Welcome. How did you, I was curious, how did you find Sarah's Story, find me? Did you watch my work on YouTube? Like, how did you originally be acquainted with us?
Yeah, so I found you in, I think it was around 2014, where a friend,
wow.
Yeah, it was a long time ago. A friend of mine was listening to your channel. I'm not sure. I think it was on the web and the YouTube at the time.
Yeah, totally.
It was Joy Garden.
Namaste today. Yeah.
Yeah.
Soul Garden. Oh, you're way back in Soul Garden days. Okay. Yeah.
Soul
All right. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. That's amazing. I'm just curious because I think it seems to have been threaded and faded into it, into us. It's, a lot of people have. And so they often begin very back then. You yourself have so many roles, and you're a guide to frequency, a master of conscious creation. What exactly does your work entail? Can you put it in a light work envelope for us?
Absolutely. Yeah. So basically in the energy work, I go into the subtle energy bodies and I, in essence, sort of realign the system and clear out distortions and bring greater resonance to the field of a person's physical, mental, and energetic system. And so I clear blockages in the chakras. I, in essence, shift the frequencies that are really creating their physical reality. And as a result, when we shift at the place where reality is in essence created, major changes can happen. So physical ailments can go away, emotional issues disappear, even financial changes, relationship changes. And I, in essence, I guess the best way to characterize it is I channel light frequencies. So if, in deep meditation, sometimes people will see colors, see violet and gold and swirling around. And so it's kind of like that, those kinds of frequencies that I channel through my system and basically shift the underlying blueprint of what matter is being created from.
So if I can step in, it sounds like to me, and this has been a theory I've always had too as well, you're step 10, first of all. So you naturally understand manifestation and materialization by nature of step 10. Tauruses also would naturally have that sort of understanding, whether they can articulate like you or an influence like you or not. And so it seems like just like the spirits in the body, there's like a contact point where the spiritual energy meets the physical energy, the metaphysical. That's really Pisces Aquarius line. That's the Pisces Aquarius line. Pisces would be the spiritual energy. Aquarius would be then the next one down, which would be the materialization of frequency. So you're saying you're jimming yourself in there, and then you blast it full of your own light. Is that what you do? And like kind of tune it, and what, like and sort of trick the frequency into like being that way. And everybody's like, so kind of get in for the client and like send them the right vibe they should have been sending all along. Is that what ideally sending that? It could have been. Let's put it that way. It could have been. And then from that energetic point to the outside world, like, because it's all designed to materialize, it just like kind of like shapes itself and unfolds and like becomes straight and narrow again.
Pretty much, yeah. And science is even, catching up to that. The physicist David Bohm he characterized matter as condensed or frozen light that moves slower, and described light as a vast ocean, and that matter is the ripples on the ocean. And so it's exactly that. And we all have the ability to shift frequencies, which are in essence the only thing that's real. And like I said, science is catching up to that as well. And so when we shift at the frequency level, we can rapidly experience shifts in the physical, and not just the physical, but emotional, mental,
All the
all
body.
kinds, in everything.
Yeah, it's interesting because, when you hear about like UFO, Black Ops stuff, I don't hear about this, but like, there's med beds allegedly they'll just instantly heal you. There's all this technology that aliens have. But what's interesting is they all deal with frequency. I've told. Like, so med bed is like changing your frequency. And there's been men who've like created devices that can read the frequency and can heal you. They've been taken away, disappeared, disappeared, that kind of thing. But again, it seemed to be frequency. So it seems like frequency energy is going to be the next thing. It really does. And you're telepathically one step ahead of that. That's pretty exciting. How did you discover this ability, by the way? Were you just playing with squirrels or something? Like, what did you do?
Oh gosh, that's a great question. So I've always been spiritual. I was, I meditated. My parents had me meditating as a toddler, and
wow, really? That's freaking me out.
Yeah,
she's living on low pose at like age 2. You're like, what is she doing? Yeah.
Well, we were kind of forced to, because my father had he had zazen and group meditation sessions.
Oh wow!
To learn how to sit and be quiet and meditate. And so spirituality was always a part of my life. But I actually came from the tech world, and it's a long journey, which I'm sure we'll get to. But this specific thing with light frequencies, that came about after I, in essence, went through a real kind of dark night of the soul experience. And I had an injury where I wasn't able to walk or stand properly for about a year. And I was in physical therapy. I was doing all kinds of things to get better. And the doctors basically told me that I would only be able to walk properly again if I had surgery. And in that moment, it was actually a very intense moment of just a deep connection to myself as source. It was almost like a lightning moving through me. It was like absolutely not. This is not my story.
Yay.
Yeah. And it was this powerful, it was almost like circuits connecting. And I was just absolutely clear that I was going to walk again, and I wasn't going to have surgery. My father had back surgery and was disabled from that. And so it was just a huge shift. And within just a couple days, I was intuitively led to a healer who, believe it or not, over the phone, he had a 2-hour session where he basically went in and he shifted, as he described it, the blueprint of what my body was built on. And he described my injuries and everything. And he said that within 6 weeks, I would be able to walk and stand just fine again. Yeah. And so, literally, I stopped all my treatment. The next day after the call, I was able to stand up and twirl around, which was a really big deal at the time. And then within 6 weeks, I was walking and standing again. And that was one of the things that had shifted me into energy healing.
Do you remember how old you were? At that time? Yeah, I'm just curious.
Oh, yeah. So at that time, I was, let's see, when the injury occurred, I was 40.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Because there's different benchmarks when people come into their power. Center return is one of them. 40 is another one. 40 is all you're on. So it's like innovate. Yeah. It's interesting because I hear a lot. I myself also came into those. I think, first of all, that injury is a past life recreation where you have been injured and probably it feels like you never walked again. Okay. So I think in that life, you willed upon it the ability to heal yourself and believed it, but couldn't make it happen. Like, I think you started that process then. And I feel like what you had that moment with the doctor giving you a self-limited belief that you'll need the medical system for the rest of your life was that you're like, oh, hell no, I've been here before, like a past life memory opened. And I think it activated the memory that you came here to like She-Ra this stuff and like show us all how it's done. Yeah. Really powerful. And I hear that a lot often too. And quite often the doctor is what gives that ultimatum. You'll never walk again. Oh, I'll like that's what like brings people in. I'm curious, like, you said you did an exercise, and I love to hear about this. And I like your term where you said, to help people feel the difference between creating and uncreating, which is basically a thought form you're saying that. And how do you do that? Because I think that's where people are absolutely trapped. Their mind is constantly deconstructing everything they build all the time by nature of TV, film, parents, just we take on that negative talk and we end up talking ourselves out of everything. Is that what you're referring to? What have you created here with Uncreating?
Yeah. So if you don't mind, I would love to describe what a thought form is.
Yes, let's do it. Dive into the
people may
basics.
not.
Yeah.
Yeah. So basically, when we look at the our energy body, it's kind of like a garden in essence, where we have all of these things that we've created, and they're basically, so a thought form it's kind of like a little packet or program that runs. And it's a packet of, let's say, thoughts and emotions and our beliefs. And so they can be negative, they can be positive. It really is, we have free will, so we can create whatever we want. And so we are constantly creating these little programs with our thoughts. And they're, in essence, seeds that we plant in our garden, our field. And then every time we pay attention to them and focus on each thought or these limiting beliefs, we're in essence fertilizing them. And so they take up more real estate in our garden. And because many of us aren't aware of our creative abilities and that we are creating all the time, we never actually go in and weed the garden and plant the seeds that we want and consciously cultivate a field that creates what we desire to experience. So, and when I'm doing healing, we can see these thought forms in the chakras, and when they're in the negative ones that we've planted, they can grow and prevent the chakras, which are energy centers, from working properly, and that's where illness sets in because they basically kind of strangle the system. And
choke the life out of your and basically the body is like, oh well, I don't know, she's asking for us to go crazy, let's do it. Like the body's getting signals to become something quite crazed, something that doesn't make sense. There's opposing, let's say, viewpoints, self-limiting beliefs, to be and not be at the same time. So you're just like in a straitjacket, just going back and forth kind of stuff. That's where we get stuck, is all this. Now most of those negative weeds, I call them weeds in the soul garden, these weeds basically, a lot of times they're introduced to you from a parent, right? Or from some source. And you just, at that point, you think it's real, so you make it real. Like there's a point, it's like, we don't really get poisoned by others. It's like, we agree to play that program.
Yeah. So we're not conscious. And I believe that's, if we look at this as a game,
thank you. You were so cool. You have no idea.
Than a game. Thanks.
Yes, it is a game. I think it's all a big game.
Yes, exactly. So, and it's a game of like light and shadow. And we are source, we are the ocean, and we basically condense aspects of ourself into matter to experience ourself as human. And so in the human perspective, the default is we're not aware of how the game works, right, and how to play the game.
No instruction manuals were provided. Yeah. That's so you don't screw up the game from memory of the last time you played. The two, it's like, you want a fresh start at the game. You want a fresh start every lifetime. So we erase all of our memory, have amnesia. Yeah.
Exactly.
I mean, this is exactly what my book's about. It's crazy that you're saying it.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Amazing.
And what we also don't recognize is we are source. We're actually already enlightened because source is enlightened.
Yes. And we play dumb, actually.
We play dumb.
Yeah.
And so now I because all the things that's happening now, I believe is because of a collective desire as source to, in essence, change the way we play the game, which is to, in essence, be source embodied in the game. Instead of just creating and experiencing, we actually get to play as awakened aspects of source. And the more we awaken and clear out these negative thought forms in shadow, the more our own light pours in, and the more we're then able to access parts of ourselves that can actually architect and shift the game.
Yes, we become co-creators of the game architecture itself. Yeah.
Yes.
And a grandmaster would be someone, by the way, in my language, who's born already with that ability but forgot. So there are grandmasters who already changed the game of certain signs. A grandmaster of a sign would have the ability to change that sign's game. They don't realize it, but when they change it, the rules for everyone changes. Those are like leaders, thought form leaders. Yeah. And it sounds like almost like, so do you have a term for that? It's almost like you say it's a program. These are programs that are running. I guess they are programs, aren't they? They're like file names. They come down the front to a file name, right? Because I look at this as thoughtware. That's my whole thing. It's like we all have thoughtware. We've been getting thoughtware upgrades for a while now, with Jupiter and Gemini. Like we had a big thoughtware upgrade. Right now we're getting an emotional upgrade on the planet. So basically I look at that as like we're getting better joysticks, like better ability to like hold bigger frequencies. Where do you see the arc of enlightenment or the promised age or all this stuff, the golden era? Like how do you see that fit in the context of your game? What are we running into here? It's a new version of the game?
That's a beautiful question. So how an analogy I'd like to use is if we see our human perspective as a glove, and source is a hand in the glove.
Mm-hmm.
And because we have all this sort of junk in our system that we're running, there's all this stuff and like in the glove, so that source, which is who we truly are, can't actually get its hand fully into the glove to move the fingers and then start to like actually
articulate,
use it. So it actually comes down to the individual to clear out all the junk that's in the glove, all the illusion. So that's fear-based thinking, anything that is not connected to the truth of us as limitless, powerful, creator, divine beings.
Yes, any thought where that's not based on love, self-love.
Exactly, love. Yeah. And so
self-love.
And the more that we clear it out, the more that hand of who we truly are can get into that glove to then start to move it around. Or let's say the puppet and the puppeteer.
Well, do you have any theories on what viruses have been trying to separate us from the glove? Because there certainly is a conscious force trying to, not that it's Satan or anything the Bible is quoted, but there is like a parasite, is there not?
So I'm not aware of anything like that. And I also think that, because we have free will and we can, we can create, we are these limitless creators. We can create whatever story we choose to play in.
Agreed. I agree completely. Yeah.
But one of the things that I've started to recognize, though, is if we call these fearful aspects or storylines as contrast, is that many times when we are preparing to expand into a new level of our power, as in a new level of our reclamation as source, we have to and just like those thought forms are in our system, they get the ones that are in the way of us expanding are called up, and so that can be very frightening things. Our biggest nightmares can start to come up out into our aura, and then we have to move through them because our deeper desire is to expand. And so I think a lot of, the experiences that I've had when I've been on the precipice of change, and desiring to be more a powerful aspect of myself, I have gone through massive contrast that I had to wade through. And that's the dark night of the soul is always right before that new day. And
yeah,
so
it always is.
A lot of, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's really powerful you're saying that, because people go like, "Oh, I messed up. I went dark." No, actually, it's a rite of passage. I think you have to address the shadow to get to the light. Always, the shadow always defines the light. Like, where's the light? It's around, the shadow circling it. And you yourself kind of the same. I mean, I think everything seeks to be bigger. That's the only thing you can be is bigger. If I understand in heaven, a big sphere is an old soul, a small sphere is a new soul. Like, so literally how much light you're putting out there in luminance. You yourself came from the tech world. I mean, which can be dark. I don't know. And then you went to become an astrocartographer, and so on. How can you describe your process of going from looking at life from technology to astrocartography, which is a very cool topic I want to talk about too.
Yeah, sure. So let's see. So my journey into more spiritual technologies, I would say, started with when I decided to found my new company at the time. It was a biosensor company. And so prior to that, I had been a co-founder of other startups and consultant and whatnot. But I decided I wanted to create, and without getting to a lot of detail about that, but I wanted to create an application that could be very beneficial to the world. And specifically, initially, the application was for women. And I was a first-time CEO. And so in that desire to bring this product to the world, I noticed that there were some really interesting energies around my company. Whenever I would face a situation that that really frightened me, in terms of making really tough decisions, despite pressure from somebody else who maybe had a different agenda or whatnot, and I really had to start facing my fears and find courage to make the right call and especially listen to my heart. I noticed that on the other side of that, it was like it was usually within 24 hours. Each time I would face something like that, something major would unlock for my so yeah, and that came down to breakthroughs with the technology, with certain investors or partners. It was really in my face, and I couldn't ignore this connection between our own inner state and what was showing up, and also within this company, and that all is consciousness, and companies are also consciousness
because they're held by the creator. They're like that's a thought form itself. Disney, for instance, is a mega thought form. Let's say, I'm curious, do you see them still like feeding that from heaven, or does it just like live off on Earth and Mother Gaia keep it alive? But the thought form of Disney is alive. You can feel it. It's alive. You can feel the thought form of Tesla's alive. You can feel these people who've done great works. Their work seems to live on in the conscious of us, and your company will as well, right? I mean,
yeah, it's the greater field, and we have our sort of, as a human, our individual fields, but really the greater field is also part of us. And so there are, and that's part of our desire to experience oneness, is because we know that we each other are one. We are within the same field, and so is the collective. And these are just programs. If you think about thought forms, they're also the more people think about it, about these companies, or really anything. You can say companies, or you can also think about
imaginary characters like Lucifer.
Figures.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think Lucifer and that stuff is all human made. I don't believe, personally. Not that I want to get into a Bible study here, but I still don't believe. So it's like these things, that these demons and whatnot. I think it's just because people focused on them. They grew these weird things in reality.
Right, and it's really important for us to recognize that when we think of something. So if you were to, for example, if you were to just sort of put your hands together, and then press your palms, the center of your palms. Okay, and then I want you to feel the weight of your hands, and how whether it feels light, and there's nothing in them, right?
Just blood.
Right. So if you look at your right hand, at your right palm, I'd like you to look at your palm and think of an apple sitting in your palm. Visualize the apple, what color it is, imagine the taste of the apple, how heavy it is in your hand, the size of the apple, and how, let's say, delicious, if you like apples, it is to eat the apple, and really build out the experience of the apple in your hand. Okay, and so just look at your palm and you build it out. And over time, and it can take practice, the ability to build these thought forms and power them up. But when you actually now if you lift both of your palms, see if you noticed a difference. Do you feel, what do you feel?
My apple one is more alive.
Yeah.
It's just brighter. It's just brighter. It's happier. It's glowing. It's like the emotive experiments with water. Like my left hand is like dying right now.
Oh, no.
It's giving me the finger. It's like being really dark. Yeah.
Well, it should, so if you look at it and you say apple, 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 and
Okay.
you should start to feel a density building up in your hand of the
Oh,
apple
versus the other hand, yeah, that's
versus
actually
the
true.
other hand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
And
for a
so,
second, you think that's your imagination, but it is your imagination, isn't it? I mean, that's where people get
yes,
confused. That's just my imagination. Well, yes, that's what you use,
yeah,
right? That's
it's,
where I think scientists mess with us. Yeah, go ahead.
yeah. Our imagination is actually our most powerful tool.
Yeah.
It's how we create, and children intuitively know that using their imagination and becoming experts in creation, and when they play
Mhm.
make believe, that it is really, in essence, that's our most powerful ability.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's just on the brink of real. You know, you've mentioned that you've done a lot of powerful manifestations, like I would think bigger than Apple, like including winning the lottery. Can you share a couple of those stories? You know, so we can hear your diversity of manifestation.
Sure. Yeah. So like I said, when I was in working on my company, I was living in Germany at the time.
Oof.
When I started to notice how my thoughts my thoughts would impact reality,
Hmm.
and also my actions. And usually it always was in response to my reclaiming an aspect of my own power. And
Mm.
it's not power over others, it's a power within myself.
Yeah.
And so uh, I made a really tough decision to shut down my laboratory
Mm.
um, in Germany at the time. And just like I had experienced before, these incredible breakthroughs happening within 24 hours.
Mm.
Um, After I shut down my lab, I had this incredible um, like day of synchronicity, and I decided to buy a lottery ticket. And
Whoa.
yeah, and so it was a really beautiful day, just very bizarre things happening out of the blue, gifts coming and whatnot. And the next day, I looked at the ticket, and I looked at the winning numbers, and I saw that I none of them actually matched.
Wow. Okay.
None of them won. But then a moment later, my actual consciousness, it's kind of like when you have an old TV and you turn it off and everything goes down to a central point.
Hmm.
It was like I completely powered down to a central point and I came back online. And then I looked at the ticket again, and I think it was like 4 out of 6 numbers matched.
Whoa. So you like switch timelines, maybe, as we would say in our world, right? Like you
Well,
just
or
moved on another path. Like you were on a
yeah, I
path of
mean,
not winning, and then now you're in the path of winning.
right. I actually, exactly. And I think that and I've had other experiences where where almost like the fabric of reality would shift in front of me according to a thought or whatnot.
Mm.
But I think the experience of winning the lottery was less about classic manifestation. It was more about showing myself that everything is fluid, nothing is fixed,
Hmm.
and it's all happening within us.
And changeable
And
any moment. You just change the channel like that.
exactly,
Hmm.
exactly.
And for you,
And
winning the lottery is significant. I mean, who wouldn't say I won the lottery by intention? I mean, that's like for
yeah,
you, as the convincer, a person who teaches it, like you needed that for yourself, really, too.
exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And it was Germany. It's not as the lotteries there are certainly not like they are in the US.
Oh, really?
Um, but it was, yeah. And, but the experience of witnessing the fabric of reality
Mm.
respond based on my own internal frequency was really powerful. And so I've had several other experiences where, let's say um, I borrowed my mother's brooch and for a jacket, and I had the thought, wouldn't it be nice if there were another one of these? And it was a
Mm.
gift I laid on from many decades ago. And 2 days later, she reached into the bottom of her bag and found the brooch, and we
Wow.
realized that the same brooch was still sitting in the other in her room.
There's a new
And so
brooch.
I have two.
Wow.
Yeah, and so there's like, and I have a number of experience, because I actually recognize this is how we're supposed to experience reality.
Hmm.
When we start to recognize how it's built and who we truly are, is that it's this beautiful relationship with our field.
Yeah.
and with ourselves as source, and it's a conversation, and it responds, and really anything's possible.
Yes, I agree with that 100%. Anything. Now, you said astrology has helped you, specifically step astrology. I'm curious, how did step astrology specifically support you in this discovery?
Yeah, so step astrology was really helpful back, especially when I started in, I think it was 2014, because it was a very challenging time. I was, a lot of things were happening in my life that I didn't have much control over.
Mm.
And it was step astrology itself, really, it started to show me that there was, in essence, like this beautiful plan, in essence, or like with each day, the different influences of the planet, or in essence, in these different frequencies, had such an impact on what one is experiencing.
Yeah.
And you created a daily practice
Mhm.
that was incredibly helpful, especially in terms of like uh, leading from your heart and soul. And I found it to be a really valuable tool for me as I was navigating a lot of life challenges. Uh,
Mm. Really beautiful. Thank you for that affirmation
yeah,
too.
yeah,
Especially for someone
absolutely.
I speak. I have a lot of Capricorn in me. You have a lot of Taurus in you. So we both, I think, understand each other, and I understand that. For me, I needed what I love about step astrology is that the hierarchy, that there is absolutely there's a sequence in which things happen,
Yes.
and it's like, and it always runs like clockwork, and it always runs a sequence. Like that was so refreshing. Like, oh, it seems so random. It's not random. It actually has a pattern. Like, and God runs a sequence, and the sequence is as simple as numbers. And if you understand the number, you understand the sequence. It's like, yeah, it really kind of normalizes astrology, makes it practical. For you, like, what is your biggest takeaway from all this journey for yourself personally? Like, because it must be a part of you that kind of always knew this growing up, or so is this aha, I was right, I knew I was, or what is it for you personally that you're what's your personal gift that you're getting?
Yeah, so I that's a great question. It's made it Over the years, it's made it very clear that the most important thing is my relationship to myself as source. That in some ways, that's the only relationship there actually is.
You
Uh,
are God.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, you are a thought of God. I agree with you completely. You are a creator,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
like creators experiencing what it's like to be you.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, and you're
And
experiencing what it's like to be creator. It's like it's crazy. It's
100%.
that simple. Yeah.
100%. And I think I didn't quite, in the background, I was spiritual in my private life, and then I had my life in business and tech, and they
Mhm.
weren't really integrated.
Mm.
And healing had actually been knocking, or energy work had been knocking on my door since my early 20s, when I also had an injury then, where the medical community wasn't really able to help me, and an energy healer did.
I'm surprised.
And yeah. Yeah. And so I noticed that the ways in which that person, what they did with their hands, started to um, also happen to me around 2014.
Mm.
Um, and at that time, my hands would become purple and charged, like when I was around people who
Huh.
were really ill, or hospitals. And
Wow.
yeah, it was, and even around trees, which was,
Cool.
I didn't really know what to make of it. So it was always kind of in the background, this kind of calling me to focus more on energy work. And I think that's
Mm.
where, those experiences with my company happened as well. But the takeaway is, I had to go through a major dark night of the soul in order to really, kind of, I shut my company down. I in essence sort of lost everything. Um,
Mhm.
and I literally had to relearn how to walk,
Mm.
build myself up from the ground up. Um,
Mhm. Well, that's
and
because you're a Capricorn. I just want to say, like, I think the Capricorns are not designed to change. They're
yeah,
just not. They're designed to stay forever. And so I think Capricorns have had a hard time because you're going against your nature. Your nature is to stay permanent. And so when I see Capricorn go through change, it's brutal because their part of them is trying to stay strong, and the other part of them is like yield to yourself. Yeah. But I
yeah,
don't know anyone who doesn't go through the dark night of the soul. I don't know anyone.
yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
maybe Betty White got away with it. I don't know. She seemed pretty bright. Like, yeah,
Well,
it's
that's
normal, right? Like I want people to know this is normal. There's nothing wrong with you.
true. That's it, and that's beautiful. And
Yeah.
especially for somebody who's going through it right now,
Yeah.
to know that on the other side of it, there's always something incredibly beautiful. Like,
Yeah.
and that you unfortunately, but it is part of the game, or in the sense that, I think as source, we love all parts of it. It's
Yeah.
probably on one level quite fun, even though it can be agonizing on the human level.
Mm.
But that in some ways so we have to break down all these false identities, and that's what the dark night of the soul really is. It's
Hmm.
breaking down the illusion. It's actually in service to us.
Hmm.
And so, yeah, so I think I finally got, took the hint, and then I moved more deeply into this work. And the beautiful thing is, when we commit to this path, then our gifts start to come online much more forcibly. And we have so much more fulfillment in our lives as a result.
Almost immediately. We're going to take a quick commercial break, but stay tuned for more tips on how to master your frequency and discover your divine willpower after this.
At Hair Intelligence, we believe that every strand of hair has its own voice and needs. By combining ancient wisdom with modern biochemistry, we create pure, organic solutions that work in harmony with your hair's natural biology for optimal hair health naturally. By choosing simplicity, sustainability, and science-backed natural solutions, we help our clients transform their hair, whether it's repair, regrowth, or simply radiant, healthy manes they seek.
All of her products have completely changed my hair. I like to call it magic in a bottle. So if there's one thing that she knows, it's hair.
Before using Karen's products a few years ago, I struggled with various hair challenges, including alopecia, and now I've overcome them, and I've just fallen back in love with my hair.
Get your best hair with clean, organic products that are catered to your hair's unique health and longevity. Get 20% off your first purchase at Hair Intelligent by entering code SeriousJoy20 at checkout. Rediscover your hair's true potential.
Serious Joy Academy is now offering gift certificates called Gifted Scholarships in 6-month, 9-month, and 1-year increments. This is the first time we've ever offered this. Serious Joy is the most accurate astrology service in the world. And now you can stun your loved ones with a spiritual mirror that helps them every day. Visit seriousjoy.academy to make your purchase. That's seriousjoy.academy. Available now. We're here with energy healer Alexandra Barton. She's a Serious Joy viewer who blends step astrology, pranic healing, and astrocartography to help people align their energy and create their own versions of heaven on earth. So this kind of begs the question, what exactly is pranic healing?
So pranic healing was developed by Grandmaster Choa Kok Sui in the 80s. And it's based on ancient healing techniques that weren't previously available to the general public. And the premises is using prana, color prana, to, in essence, go into the subtle energy body and the chakras to cleanse the system and then to energize it. And a key difference to other modalities like Reiki, for example, where they focus on energization, pranic healing, a lot of the work is actually on cleaning, because when we remove these distortions, naturally things return to flow, and then energizing that we're not, in essence, to go back to the garden analogy, we're not fertilizing both the negative and the positive programs. We've, in essence, weeded the garden first before we kind of pack in higher vibrational frequencies to or this prana.
Yeah. So before throwing on the Miracle Grow, literally,
Exactly.
Weed your garden so you don't grow those miracles, those weeds into miracles.
Yeah. Yeah.
So how does one start to master their own frequency? Where does that person begin? Because to some people, it just seems invisible and impossible, but it's practical. Where is it?
Yeah, so that's a great question. First, we have to start to understand that everything underlying everything is frequency, and we have to build that muscle. So if we can start to notice where frequency can express itself. So I think things like astrology is actually really great when we start to learn astrology and we start to understand that there are these planetary influences are in essence frequencies impacting us. And then of course with the step system, with these varying sort of more kind of these micro level variations in frequencies with the degrees is very helpful. And then, then you can move into astrocartography, for example, when you start to look at the global map and you see all these possibilities that are available to you in different frequencies, different experiences that you can activate, where astrocartography is in essence, if you were to lay your natal chart in essence on the entire globe. If you were born in different places, you would experience different influences of the planets, so different frequencies. So you can actually go to different parts of the world and enhance certain parts of your story.
Totally true. And I've lived it after I learned astrocartography much later than I started astrology, and I moved to Denver, and where I felt very safe and very calm. And later found out that was my Pluto line. And then I moved to Austin, Texas, right at age 49, right before my Chiron return. That was my Chiron line. So I found that I've subconsciously been drawn to these ley lines myself all this time. It's fascinating stuff. How do you help people in that regard? Do you plan vacations? Is that what does one do with the astrocartographer, or just explain why you're in hell when you're living in Kansas? I mean, how's that go for a session?
Yeah, so astrocartography can be used for, if you're planning a vacation, if you're planning a move, if you want to activate other stories in your life, you want to focus on your spirituality or go to a place that can give you a professional boost or find love or whatnot. But you're right in that we are intuitively led to the places that are right for us. When we look retrospectively at the places that we were significant in our lives. But what we first do is we look at the natal chart to get a sense of the story that you've chosen to experience in this lifetime. What kind of challenges, what kind of experiences, what kind of identity you wanted to embody and play with. And that then, that then informs which lines are the most supportive or perhaps the most challenging for you. And it actually isn't the same for everyone. So it's not like there's one line that's bad that everybody should avoid. And also challenges are not necessarily negative, and they can play out in your life in different ways. And also the degree of the challenge, the step in the step system also helps to really inform the flavor of the experience. So if we were to go to a 22 degree, let's say if you move to Barcelona, you become a 22 degree Aries. So breakdown, breakthrough experience and whatnot. That might be a very different experience than moving somewhere where you're a 6 degree Aries in terms of your relocation. But astrocartography, what it does is it allows us to now, instead of just sort of passively experiencing, okay, this is my fixed natal chart, this is what I was born with and I have to live with, we then get to start to curate the frequencies that are in our lives and our experience. So when you said mastering your frequency, it's important to first notice that there, the frequencies of how they impact you, but then to start to take control or to take the wheel and then start to play and shift what frequencies are in your field.
Yeah, I think a good way to start with that is to just start paying attention to how you feel at the breakfast in that restaurant, and how you feel at that nightclub, and how you feel at that person's house, and just start to map your energy in different little micro frequencies, and you start to become very hyper aware of the the subtlety, because it's very, very subtle. I would say when you're reading a frequency, it's very subtle. You wonder if you're making it up, and you kind of are, but it's the way information translates. You also mentioned divine willpower. What do you mean by divine willpower?
Yeah, so divine willpower, for example, when I mentioned, when I decided that not being able to really walk was not my story, that was an aspect of my own divine willpower, just like, landing in my system.
Yeah.
And divine willpower is we all have it, but it becomes, it's when we're making decisions from a higher part of ourselves.
hmm
And thus we're actually able to do more and shift the field more.
hmm
And so the more that we can clear out the clutter that is causing us to make decisions and actions in a certain place, the more we can start to direct what actually happens.
hmm
And there's something that we've been conditioned to think that we don't have the right to decide that it's outside of ourselves. It's God gets to decide
hmm
what is going to happen next. It's the will of God. When we start to recognize that we are an aspect of God, and we do have that power, we then are able to elevate our perspective so we can access that power. And
hmm
so the difference is, even in healing modalities, so when I'm doing, if I'm trying to shift something in the energy field that's not really moving, when I access through my connection to source, you can reaffirm that you are the soul, that you are source. Then I can then more energy flows through me, so I can move things that seem almost impossible to move.
You're more
So
potent.
divine, yeah. And so I think divine will comes to, as people want to develop more of these abilities, metaphysical abilities, that's where we start to build our connection to that powerful part of ourselves.
hmm
And then it's also just, it's part of actually a triangle. There's divine love, divine power, and divine intelligence, and they work together. And the more we can come from a state of love and connection, the more we have, if we're connected, the more that energy is flowing and I can shift it. And then of course, move that power through to shift. And the more divine intelligence is, the more I recognize that I am source. And so it's a matter of aligning our belief systems so that we can access, literally sort of, we can start to define and sculpt, and also recognize that, like, having power, which we've been conditioned to think is something we shouldn't desire, that's power over. But reclaiming power, changing the way in which we relate to power, is really important in our stepping up into our own leadership. And so that's where divine will is incredibly important at this time, for us to start to change the world and create heaven on earth.
Indeed. And I would define myself, from my perspective, divine power is basically what God was wanting all along. So you get paid extra. It's like, you want to play ball with God? You need a little extra help, a little extra power there, because you're right in alignment with source itself. The more you align in source, the more you will.
Yeah.
What are some signs that you are not in divine willpower?
Oh, that is when things feel hard, when you feel stuck and frustrated, and like you can't make things happen, when you're hitting a wall, and when things aren't flowing, when you are connected to your divine will, divine power, then things just fall, and things are effortless.
Oh yeah, ridiculously. It's
yeah.
almost like it's almost like a coordinated dance. Like,
Yes.
you walk in a room, someone hands you the coffee. Turn over, there's your mother from family. Take a picture. So it's like a coordinated, like you cannot. Your life just becomes this like ballet.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the other interesting thing is we glorify things that seem hard, and the things that are easy are somehow not as valuable. But when you start to expand your own energy system, things become easier. You have access to information and solutions So in some ways, it's the inverse of it. Is actually what we do want. We want things to be easier, which means that we are actually in a higher vibration and things are not stuck. And
Yeah, it's just a beautiful boogie. Do you have some like simple basic tools that kind of help people align themselves and their energy internally? Because it's a very hard thing, as you know, light worker to describe what's going on inside me privately, secretly. Like when I try to talk about how I identify this or how I identify that side of me, do you have any tools for helping identify these things?
I do, and I also teach them in coaching sessions and workshops. It is the first thing to understand is even just the affirmation of I am not my body, I am not my thoughts, I am not my emotions, I am the soul, starts to distance us from our creations. And then when we can do that, we can actually start to shift them.
So get some space away from it, first of all. Step one.
Yeah.
Step 0, get some space. Step 0,
Exactly.
actually.
So we first need to step away, become the observer. And then at that point, there are ways in which, and there are a few techniques that are can be quite powerful. It would take some time to describe and to actually demonstrate. But even just the decision. So what we should understand is our decision to be finished with a particular limiting belief is powerful. If we set the intention of, I do not want this. So first of all, that's powerful because we recognize we are not this thing. We separate from it. And then we actually can say this particular frequency of frustration, I do not want to disintegrate it. You can actually say disintegrate and delete. And it actually does work. And that has to do, again, as we start to recognize we can actually move energy, then our ability to move energy starts to come online.
Yeah. You take a mile. Yeah. And so it's kind of like, and that's an interesting thing too, that I always tell my subscribers, and I'm glad you restated. It's like, you won't believe it, but as soon as you say it, it does it.
Yep.
Like the soul just obeys 100% of what you're saying. You're like, that works. I can't. The only time I've suffered and been like, with a cross and God help me. So all I just say was like, I commanded stop. There's something about a commandment too. I've noticed with like light. When I read about ascended masters, there comes this point when you ascend Earth that you're commanding Earth, which to me at first was like, oh, that's arrogant. But now I realize it's like, no. It's like saying, I'm good enough. I get the license. Do it.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's where that trinity of divine power, divine love, divine intelligence, or divine willpower, that all comes in, because you can't access one without the other. And if you're
grand
in
trine,
alignment
sounds
with
like,
that.
yeah. It almost sounds like a water grand trine. It's like divine wisdom would be maybe Pisces, divine power would be Scorpio. What was the other one? Divine
love.
Divine love. Well, that could be. I would say it was Cancer. My Cancer mother, but we'll move on. Energetically, what do you think the collective is in right now? Like, where are we energetically with this vibration, this frequency today, and where are we going here in the next 6 months or so?
That's a great question. So I think it's almost like a collective dark night of the soul. And what
life? Just kidding.
Yeah, right now. And what we recognize is usually these things come after we've had a desire for something greater. So I'd say we collectively desire more union, more, or in essence, heaven on earth. And because of that, a lot of chaos has to come up and be seen in order to be disintegrated.
Just like you said, when you do your own personal work, you said the dark bubbles are going to come up from the soda. You're going to have to So it seems to me this is almost evidence that we must be doing the work because the dark's certainly coming out, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So I actually feel very optimistic. I feel like we've collectively been in kind of a clearing. We've been doing our own clearing and disintegrating of these nightmares, in essence. And we've been in an incubation period, and it feels very different in 2026, especially and onward. Not to say that everything becomes easy. But it does feel like we are in the process of taking back the wheel of the field, in a sense. And so all the fear around, you can't do that, you can't take control, you can't decide, like all these things are trying to keep us small, and we're ready to, this bigger part of ourselves is ready to be more of a leader in the game.
Absolutely. Just by playing yourself beautifully, the better flautist you are for your flute, the better you're going to, being yourself is the solution.
Yes.
That's what I found crazy.
Yeah.
Our fears of being ourselves, and how many fears we have of being ourselves and being accepted and all this other stuff. Being accepted by what? The game we just made and on Atari? I mean, like it says that's actually that ridiculous. It's so simple, right?
Yeah.
When you talk about, you said they're on the precipice of a major rebirth. Are you talking about the entire world's on the precipice of major rebirth, or each individual, or both?
It's actually both, because everything is our field.
Okay.
There is no distinction. I mean, in some ways, our outer field, it is a reflection of our inner state.
Yeah.
Or people could say a hologram or whatnot. So there actually is no distinction. And that's where we have to recognize is our power is in the present moment. It's in the inner field. And the reason why I've actually been seeing, I would say, beyond that, collectively, I've been seeing a difference in, even when I'm doing work, there's a different quality of light that seems to be coming in when I'm doing the energy work. And it's no longer about, you hurt your knee and you want to get your knee, you want to get back to a baseline. A lot of the work that I've been doing now is actually, it's almost like it's upgrading the system. It's like the chakras themselves are wanting to have a different purpose.
Different color right here. I heard they're turning colors. Have you seen it, witnessed that?
Yeah. So color is definitely a part of, and different light frequencies have different purposes. One of the things that I've been seeing is, it's more like I've been seeing a lot of this sort of really hot diamond light is coming through. But an example is like the solar plexus, which has been traditionally a place where it's kind of like where all our garbage sits, our emotional, our upsets, our frustration, our anger, a lot of stuff, our anxiety. And so in the past, it was a lot of it about was clearing and cleaning it out. Now I'm actually seeing that the light body, it's almost like the solar plexus is ready for a completely different purpose. It's almost like an inner sun.
It is.
So yeah. And so
it's step 2 and step 5 together, in my opinion. So
beautiful.
thoughts and feelings merged to that 7 conclusion. So it's like once you've cleared out your trauma, that's your fuel, right? Your thoughts. I mean, the thought would be the thought body. The feelings would be the like magnetic push. So to me, it's like it's a generator.
Yes. And that's so exciting, because it's like people who haven't even done a lot of spiritual work, like it's, I work on them, and then it's like it's these big expansions and upgrades of the whole system is wanting to happen. And then we have like really big changes in our life. So it's not just these small changes of, like I said, your knee is okay now and you go back to what's happening, but it's like really incredible upgrades and up leveling of our systems are happening right now.
So excited. So there's a dark period coming, it seems like. Although I look into it, I just see nothing but joy in Disneyland, I swear to God. But they keep telling me it's still dark. And I think it's because a lot of us are choosing the path of just like, I've decided I'm just going to have joy now. That's it. I really don't need anything other dark stuff, I don't think, to learn anymore. I get it. For those who are still stuck on or whatever, they're like on the headline after headline of the president or whatever. How do you navigate? How do you stay grounded? How do you get through that period of, that first period? Let's say the beginning period of it.
Yeah. I think first is, your nervous system. You want to create a sense of safety within yourself. So whatever that is that you have, that brings you back to safety, whether it's yoga or breath work or whatnot, that's really important, because from there, the goal is we have to first take back control from these programs we've in essence created. And so we first want to get into a more of a neutral state, so we can then get access to our higher thinking. And then another part of it, I think, is really helpful for me in the beginning was whenever I would have experiences and like these, sort of little breadcrumbs of my higher self trying to show me that there's more, I started to write them down. And I think it's really important to have a body of evidence of these experiences, because when you're in a dark place, it can be really hard to remind yourself that there's more out there than just what's in front of you, and that you actually are more in control. So creating a body of evidence of all these wild, whatever it is, little synchronicities, big things, small things, whatever it is really important. And like I said before, building the muscle of being able to work with frequency, because the universe speaks frequency.
Yeah.
That's the language of the universe.
Yeah.
And so, that's where we communicate with ourselves as source. And so we need to start building that muscle so that we can actually start to shift the frequency. Because when we're upset about something, it's really that we don't like the current frequency state. Actually, we want to shift into a different frequency, whether that's more peace or happiness or joy or prosperity. So that's actually what we're really seeking. So we really need to become fluent in that. And different ways, I think something like pranic healing or another modality is really wonderful, because you can actually start to have experiential practice in moving frequency. In practices like disintegrating thought forms, if you were to even just to put up in your mind like a blackboard, and you can write those thoughts on there and erase them. You can do that, and that's actually a really powerful technique. Start to recognize how powerful you are, and then watch and see how that power starts to come online more, and you start to get more evidence of it.
Wow, this is deep stuff, and it's good, and it goes right along the system with what we teach here. Where can listeners go to connect with what you and learn about more what you do? Where can we go?
Yeah, so they can go to my website at heavenrooted.org. And I'm offering 2 workshops in the new year, one on frequency mastery, and then also another one on intro to astrocartography. I also do one-on-one sessions and coaching for both healing and astrocartography. And I'm also going to be doing free monthly healing clinics as well. So
Wow.
so you can go to my website, or I'm also on Instagram at heavenrooted as well.
That's amazing. And I'm amazed. I'm sure we're gonna have a lot to talk about. I'd like to come back maybe next year, have you come back and we talk about like how my light and your light mix, like relationship stuff. I'm curious about how this works to the next level of when, we're 2 lighthouses of disco color finding each other in the night or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, I'm curious about that. I think there's a lot to explore in this. This is an amazing, fun topic. And thank you for coming here and shining and blinking with us. It's been wonderful.
Thank you so much for having me. Really appreciate it.
Have a great New Year's, and we'll see you next year.
Same to you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Yay, that was fun. It's really kind of like surreal for me to be sitting in a seat where someone who's watched us originally, like now has run off in their own directions. It's all synchronized with what they've learned. It's amazing. It's just amazing. And we're seeing so many wonderful things come of it. Really for serious joy, for me, 20 years in January of being on the air and seeing this generation of people who agreed and followed their own path, and holy shit, it all fits together. It's just amazing. It's really amazing. And we're so grateful for you. Always come down to the mothership, SiriusJoy.com. We have more and more coming down there. Register to be a free registered user at SiriusJoy.com, and you'll find little things opening up in our programming down there. That's some of the tips and tricks we have coming around the corner. We hope you have a wonderful weekend. You live in your heart, and that you always live, love, and be. And one last thing, I don't know if we mentioned it yet. We can cut this out. We are moving this show to Sundays. That's right. We think it's going to be much more better on Sundays to watch us than rush hour on Fridays. So we'll have more about that. Watch our postings and follow us on any of our social media. Until next time, we love you. Live, love, be.
Serious joy.